All right, so let's go over numbers in Hebrew. Numbers, numbers, numbers. You'll now be able to read the book of Numbers once we're done with this chapter. All right, so we were talking about this the other day, but we'll go ahead and just review real quickly what we have going on here. In Hebrew, we're dealing with the numbers that are cardinal versus ordinal. And to review, a cardinal number is a number that gives you in a series counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Ordinals, on the other hand, are also numbers. They are giving you the order of things in a series, so first, second, and third, and so forth, okay? So we're going to really focus our attention on the cardinals. Ross, in chapter 25, interrupts the cardinal numbers with ordinals for some reason. I don't understand why. We're going to delay ordinals until we get to the end, and after we've completely taken care of the cardinal numbers. All right, so the thing that we have to remember about numbers in Hebrew is that most of the numbers we're dealing with are nouns, not adjectives, okay? That is really critical. The numbers, the cardinal numbers, are nouns, not adjectives for the most part. Our exception is the number 1, okay? Number 1 is an adjective, but numbers 2 through 10 and the first 10 numbers, cardinal numbers, are actually nouns, all right? So if you look at the chart that you have in front of you, I've given you the masculine singular absolute. There can be a construct form, the feminine singular absolute, and the feminine singular construct. All of the numbers in 1 through 10 can occur in one of those 4 forms. What you need to try to remember or memorize is this first column, the left column here, okay? So I'm going to circle it for you. If you can memorize, if you can remember that column, you'll be able to identify for the most part what the numbers from 1 to 10 actually are, okay? So let me just have you review with me by way of reciting these numbers in this first column, everybody. Echad is the number 1. Shenayim is the number 2. Shalosh, 3. Arba is 4. Chamesh is 5. Shesh is 6. Now, how many of you know Spanish? You know the number 6 in Spanish? It's seis, and it sounds a lot like shesh, doesn't it? Yeah, so you can remember that. Sheva is the number 7. Shimone is 8. Tesha, 9. And Eser is the number 10. Now, these are the masculine forms of the numbers. Now, I want to mention something here with respect to the numbers. Number 2 is Shenayim, and that ayim ending is telling us that the number 2 is what number? Singular, plural, or dual? Dual. So it is a dual noun, okay? It's a dual noun. And then the number Shalosh and Arba and so forth, these are singular nouns, okay, from 3 and down. They're singular nouns. So the number 1 is the only number in 1 through 10 that is actually an adjective. And so its gender is going to be determined by what is being numbered. So if I want to say 1 man, I'm going to use which form of echad? I'm going to use, well, tell me, masculine singular or feminine singular? Which form am I going to use? 1 man. Masculine singular. If I want to say 1 woman, feminine singular. Very good. So let's write that down on our next page. You see these forms here. Is ish masculine or feminine? It's masculine. And so the form of echad needs to be masculine, which is echad. That's the form you're really going to memorize. Now, the feminine form of 1 is not echad, but achat. Remember that final tav we talked about is the second most common way to see something made feminine singular. You could add a comma te to make it feminine singular, or a final tav to make it feminine singular. And here we have isha achat. Isha achat. So say these with me. Ish achad, one man. Isha achat, one woman. Now, there is, believe it or not, a plural form to the number one. I don't have it on your chart, but it is in your Ross chapter, okay? And let's take a look at it real quickly here. The number one in the plural is achadim. So echad becomes achadim. Stresses on the im, so this syllable here with the aleph is left open and propertonic, and it has to reduce to a vocal shava. And since aleph is a guttural, it prefers what kind of vocal shava? No, a compound shava, right? Of the A-class variety, too, since gutturals prefer A-class vowels. So achadim, achadim. Now, how in the world are we going to translate the word one as a plural form? Ones? It's going to occur in situations like this. In Genesis, right before the Tower of Babel incident, Tower of Babel, there's an expression that the whole world was devarim achadim. Devarim means words. Achadim, ones. Ones, words. Words, ones. What does that mean? Yeah, the idea is one set of words or a common language. So you could translate the plural of echad when it clearly isn't numerically, singular, which is what you expect echad to be, to have the idea of same or common. All right? So there you go. It's funny to see echad in the plural, but that's it. Now, because the number one is an adjective, it's going to follow the rules of attributive adjectives. What does that mean? That means in terms of placement, it has to go where with respect to the noun? After the noun. And it has to agree with the noun in gender and number, right? And we could see definiteness as well. But usually when you're talking about one of a thing, it's usually indefinite. Okay. Now let's think about the dual noun, which is the word shenayim when it's masculine. Actually, let's go back and talk about this for a moment. Shenayim is the masculine dual form of two, and it could be in the construct shenay, and ayim becomes a, or Canadian. That's the Canadian ending. So masculine plural and masculine dual endings become Canadian here. The feminine form of two is shtayim, or shtayim. You really won't even hear that shava there. Shenayim, shtayim. What's happened here? Well, I have a tav that has shown up here to mark this as feminine, whereas the noon of the masculine form here is visible in this one. It's like, if I can remind you, you've learned the word for son, right? Yeah, it's bane. That's masculine. What's a female son? The singular is bat. So bane becomes bat. This is masculine singular. Bat is feminine singular. I just want you to see that this form ends with a noon. The feminine form ends with a tav. Okay, and that's sort of like what we're seeing here. Shenayim, masculine. Shtayim, feminine. Both of them have ayim because they're dual. And then if I take the feminine dual absolute shtayim and I make it construct two of a feminine set of two of something, then I can use the construct form. It also becomes seriod, the Canadian ending. All right. So let's now go back over here. We want to talk about basically the syntax, or the way these words will combine properly in Hebrew. So let me do that real quickly here. Let's look at the way this is laid out. When I want to say two of anything, there's really two main ways to do it in Hebrew. Okay, to say two somethings, I could put the word two in the construct state, and it'll be thing one and a thing one, thing two construct chain. All right, so If it's in the construct, remember, it's going to have the Canadian ending here. So literally, this is Shnei Banim, 2 of sons. Okay? Now, let me ask you, which form of 2 have I used with the masculine plural noun Banim? The masculine or the feminine form of 2? Shnei. That's masculine, right? The feminine form would have been shtei with the tav, okay? So what does that tell you? That the number 2 will match the gender of the noun being numbered, all right? So number 1 and number 2 do have gender agreement. They do match. So this is literally 2 of sons, okay? So that's the construct chain strategy, 2 of sons. Now, the other way to do it is not to use the construct, but to use the absolute form and to put it side by side with the noun being numbered. And this is called apposition. Apposition. We usually think of apposition in sentences like, Charlie, comma, my brother, comma, lives in Alabama, where Charlie and my brother are in apposition to one another. I start with Charlie, and then I rephrase who Charlie is by adding another noun phrase. Charlie, that is my brother, same person, lives in such and such a place. But when anytime we have 2 nouns that are side by side, but they're not in a construct chain, and the second noun refers to the same thing as the first noun, that's apposition. And what I'm seeing here now in these next 2 examples is I'm seeing the masculine plural noun banim and the number 2, shanayim, side by side with it. In apposition, either of the terms could go first. It doesn't matter. Okay, so I could say 2 and then the word sons, which would be 2 sons. Or I could say sons, 2, which would still be 2 sons. Okay? There's no syntactic or grammatical requirement for the number 2 when it's in the absolute and in apposition to be first or second. In the construct state, construct nouns can only be first, right? They're always thing 1. So there is a constraint here when it's in the construct. When it's in the construct, it has to be first. When it's in the absolute, it could be either first or second. Now, you could conceptualize, since the word 2 is actually a dual noun, you could think of it in terms of the word double or pair. So if you translated shanayim as pair, that would make sense, right? Pair of sons, shnei banim. A pair, sons. Or sons, a pair, means, well, 2 of them, right? So maybe that's helpful. All right. Now, the numbers 3 through 9 are singular nouns. They're not plural. They are singular, even though what they're numbering could be plural. And the one thing that is unusual about them is that they are characterized by a mismatch of gender with the noun that's being numbered. This is the thing that maddens my students. I think the whole world is mad about this, but I only know my students, so I can tell you that they're not a little bit discombobulated by it. Let's take a look here at our forms real quickly. Okay, look at the form of 3, which is shalosh. I've told you is the masculine form. The feminine form, shalosha. Does that look feminine? Yes. Please tell me it does, right? The ending, kamatse, that's feminine singular. What's the ending for the masculine typically? It's 0. It's no ending. And you see how shalosh is a no ending form. After my main root letters, I have no ending. I add a kamatse to the final consonant and I get the feminine singular form. Okay? These could also be in the construct. So I could say 3 of something and I could put this in the construct as well. The only difference between the masculine forms absolute and construct is a vowel shift. Remember how in the construct we often have vowels reducing, right? Why? Because the construct noun is unstressed. It surrenders its stress to the absolute noun, the second noun. So we can have vowel reduction here, but since the form with no ending doesn't have an ending, then in the construct there's no ending to change, okay? In the feminine form, the kamatse could become pathak tav, but sometimes feminine singular forms can go to segel tav as well for their construct. We saw that with isha, wife or woman, became eshet, it adopted a Segulite pattern, and it has the Segultav, right? The wife of Moses is not Ishat Moshe, but Eshet Moshe. Eshet Moshe. Okay? Now, I say this simply to point out that we do have forms that, at least from the way they look masculine with no ending, shalosh, arba, 3 and 4, and feminine, shalosha and arba'ah. Those comments say endings. But what's going to happen in Hebrew is the form that I expect to go with a masculine noun is going to be the feminine form of the number for the numbers 3 through 10. All right? So this is characterized, these numbers 3 through 10 are characterized by gender mismatch. What do we have as an example? Well, let's take the word sons real quickly. So it's banim. All right? And let's take the word daughters, which is banot. Okay? Banim and banot. Sons and daughters. What if I want to say 3 sons? 3 sons. Is the number 3 between 3 and 10? Yes. Then Hebrew is committed to confusing you here. And instead of using, even though banim is masculine plural, even though it's masculine, I got to use which form of 3? The feminine. The masculine form is shalosh, so I have to use shalosha with banim. Okay? So it's going to be shalosha banim. Feminine 3, that's feminine singular. Okay? But banim is masculine plural. On the other hand, if I want to talk about 3 daughters, I have 3 daughters. Daughters is what gender? It's feminine, right? Banot is feminine plural. I have to use which form of 3 since 3 is between 3 and 10? I got to use the masculine form, which is shalosh. Okay? So shalosh banot, which is the masculine form of 3. Okay? So you're going to see this throughout our chapter. You're going to see it throughout the Hebrew Bible. When you have any number between 3 and 10, whatever the gender of the noun is that's being numbered, it will be the form of the noun will have the opposite gender. Okay? Now, what does this mean? Does this mean that you can somehow psychoanalyze the Hebrew mind and say, well, they didn't know the difference between male and female? No, that would be a really dumb and lame thing to do and say. Okay? This is actually characteristic of other Semitic languages as well. So if you ever get to learn Aramaic here, we're going to see the same thing. Okay, so it isn't just a Hebrew problem. Okay, yes, so for the another way to say 3 sons and 3 daughters, we could put the number 3 in the construct state instead of the absolute. And when it's in the construct, it always has to be first. Here, it could have been banim shalosha, right? Sons 3, and banot shalosh, daughters 3. When it's in the absolute, it can go either way. But when it's in the construct, shilosha has to become shaloshet, like that, okay? And it's going to use that feminine singular. Now this is feminine singular construct, but it's still feminine singular because banim is masculine, and 3 comes between 3 and 10, okay? And then for 3 of daughters, I can't use shalosh if I want to make this construct. I have to use the construct form, which is going to reduce that vowel pointing. So it becomes not shalosh, but shalosh banot. Okay? So 3 of daughters. And again, daughters is feminine, so the form of 3 has to be the masculine singular construct. Again, even though banim and banot are plural, notice that the form of the number noun is singular here. Okay? It's always singular. And there's a reason for that. So when we get to the numbers 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60, we're going to see why. It's important that you know that the numbers 3 through 10 are actually singular nouns. Okay? Now let's look at the next item here, and this is cardinal numbers 11 through 19, okay? 11 through 19. So what we have here are the numerals 11 through 19. These are the cardinal numbers. And the way to form them in Hebrew is simply to do almost what we do in English, okay? If I want to say 7 plus 10, how do I say that in English? It's 710, except I changed the form of 10 to teen, right? If it's 6 plus 10, it's not 610, but 16. 510 is 15. 410 is 14. 310 is 13. 13. Slight variations there. 2 and 10? What's that? 2 teen? Yeah, it's 12, right? And 1 and 10 is not 1 teen, but 11. Now, Hebrew is actually more consistent here. With Hebrew, you just take the number of the units, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and you just conjoin it to a form of 10 in Hebrew, which, as in English, is a slight variation of the real number 10. The real number 10 is Eser, from our handout on page 1, Eser. And here, it's going to be Asar, so slightly different voweling, just like 10 and teen are almost the same, but just slightly different vowels. Or Esrei, Esrei, so Asar or Esrei. Now, if I'm numbering masculine things, notice over here, I'm going to use Ahad, Asar. And if that's for 11. And there's an alternate form for 11, which is instead of Ahad using Ashtei, Ashtei Asar. The form for the 10 is the same, but the number for 1 here has changed. So 1, 10 is 11. Ashtei Asar is also 11. Now over here, if I have a feminine noun, look at what I'm using for the 1 part, Achat. What gender is that? Well, it's feminine. Why? Because the numbers 1 and 2 match the gender of what we're numbering, okay? So when I'm dealing with numbers like 11 and let's say 14, the number that represents the 1 will agree in gender. But since 4 is a digit between 3 and 10, that will disagree with the gender, okay? So we have to really have fixed in our minds. 1 and 2 always agree in gender. 3 through 10 disagree. All right. Look at the number 12. Shenaim Asar. So if I have a masculine noun, which form of Shanayim am I using? It's the noun form, right? The masculine form. And then Asar. Or I could put it in the construct, Shnei Asar. Okay, so I have 2 ways to say 12 here. Shtem Esrei and Shtei Esrei are the feminine forms because the 2 part has to agree in gender with the noun. But look at 13. Look at what I have. I have Shelosha Asar. Okay, this is my masculine column in the sense that when I have masculine nouns, I'm going to use a feminine form of the 3 with my 10. Okay, so Shelosha Asar versus if it's a feminine noun, I use the masculine form of the 3 for 13. Shelosh Esrei. Okay, so I'm going to walk through all of these. Just want you to see how it works. And we'll look at some examples here, okay? One thing to note from the lesson is that Ross tells you that certain nouns could be singular even though you're numbering them with some number above 1. So if you've ever talked to some old-timer, like I remember having a conversation with some old man in Indiana, and I asked him, so how long have you lived here in these parts? And he said, oh, I've been living here for about 60 years. And he used the number 60, and he used the singular form of year, 60 year. And I thought, that's cool. Sounds really Hebrew. Because that's actually one of the nouns that could be singular with a plural-sounding number in front of it. Okay, so the words ish, man, nefesh, person, yom, day, Shana, year, and Shevet, tribe, those could be singular with a number noun in front of them. They could be plural as well, but frequently you'll see a singular form, okay? So let's take a look at 3 examples here. I have Actually, I just realized that I have this in the wrong place. I need to do my cardinal numbers for 20 through 99 first, and then we'll do these examples. Okay, to form the numbers 20 through 99, what we have to do is we have to know how to make numbers multiples of 10, because we're dealing with numbers like 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Here's how you do it in Hebrew. For the numbers 30 through 90, you express these by taking the singular number like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Remember, those are singular numbers, and you make them plural. You change their form to an eem ending, a masculine plural ending. And that turns the number into a multiple of 10. You multiply it times 10. So if you take a number like shalosh, shalosh is 3, and you make it shaloshim, then it doesn't mean threes, it means 30. 30, okay? Arba, 4. Arba'im means 40, 4 times 10. Chamesh, 5. Chamishim, make it plural, 50. So the only difference here is that the number 20 is not the number 2 made plural, because the number 2 is already not singular, isn't it? The number 2 is dual. So I can't just pluralize it to make 20. So what do? I take the number 10, eser, and I make it plural, and it becomes esrim. Okay, so esrim is 20. So say these with me. Esrim, 20. Shiloshim, 30. Arba'im, 40. Chamishim, 50. Shishim, 60. Shiv'im, 70 from Sheva. Shimoneh becomes Shimonim for 80, and Tesha becomes Tish'im for 90. Okay, so that's how we make these numbers. Now let me go back up to the top of the page, and let's look at these three sets of numbers. All right, let's look at the first one. We have Shishim Shana. Shishim Shana. What does Shana mean? Year. Very good. So that's year. And Shishim is the number Shesh made plural. So what's Shesh? Shesh is 6, and so Shishim is 60. Okay, so that's 60 year, or 60 years. Now look at the next one. I have Echad Ushaloshim. Echad Ushaloshim. This is what number? Echad? It's 1. Good. And Shaloshim is the plural of Shalosh. That's 30. So this is 1 and 30. What's that? That's 31. Excellent. And how many, what am I numbering? Ish. 31 man, which means 31 men. See how that works? So I can say 1 and 30, or I could even say 30 and 1. All right? Look over here. Shiv'im v'shalosh isha. What is shiv'im? This is the plural of sheva. Sheva is 7, so shiv'im, 70. And shalosh, 3. That's just the singular form. So that's 70 and 3. What does that make? 73. 73 what? Isha, women. Okay? It is singular, but you can see that. So you see how that works? Now, just to remind ourselves, in the number 73, is the 3, the units place, is that between 3 and 10? Yes. Does that agree or disagree with the gender of the noun? 3 is a disagreement number. So notice shalosh is the masculine singular form, isn't it? And isha is what gender? Feminine. Okay? Take a look over here at 31. The units place as the number 1. Is 1 an agreement or a disagreement number with gender? Number has agreement. So echad is masculine singular because ish is masculine singular. You see? Isn't that pretty? All right. Now if you look at shishim shana, shana is feminine singular. The number 60, though, is always masculine plural. It never changes gender. Okay, so when I pluralize my units number to get multiples of 10, it's always masculine plural. So I don't ever change that. Okay. Now let's take a look at large numbers. Large numbers are fun. Okay? Large numbers are also nouns, just like the other cardinal numbers besides the number 1. And they will have distinct singular, dual, and plural forms. We don't find the number 10,000 very frequently. So the number 100 is me'ah. Look at the ending of me'ah. What gender do you think me'ah is? It's feminine. Good. Is it feminine plural or feminine singular? That's right. Good. So the word 100 is actually a feminine singular noun. You could call it a unit of 100. Okay? A unit of 100. The feminine singular construct, the ah becomes at, so ma'at. And you see the vowel reduction in the mem, under the mem. Okay? Now, what if I want to say 200? What do? Well, I take the number 100 and I make it dual. In other words, I don't put the number 2 in front of it. I just add a dual ending. So if me'ah means set of 100, matayim means 2 sets of 100. Okay? Because a dual of anything is a set or a pair of them. Yad, one hand, yadayim, a pair of hands, right? Me'ah is a set of 100, and matayim is a set, is 2 sets of 100, or a pair of 100 sets. Okay? So that's the dual form, matayim. Matayim. You see this tav here has been added because the mater can't add an ending to it. So it becomes matayim, dual. What's the plural of 100? Well, me'ah becomes me'ot, right? Feminine singular, ot, feminine plural. And the construct is ma'ot with the vowel reduction. So those are the forms of hundreds. 1,000 is the noun aleph. And actually, there should be an accent mark here. It's on the aleph. 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 Everybody say that with me. Aleph. Okay. And in the construct, this is a singular noun. Singular nouns do not change in the construct when they're singular. Look at the way to say 2,000. I just take the word aleph, which means 1,000, and I make it what? I make it dual. Al-payim. Al-payim. And then if I want to talk about more than 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, it's alafim. Alafim. And if I want to make it construct, it's al-pay. The word for 10,000 is rivava. Everybody say that, rivava. Or ribo. Or the aleph could be missing, or ribo. Okay, so that's 10,000. And if I want to say 20,000, it's ribotayim. Ribotayim, right? A double of 10,000 is 20,000. And the plural of 10,000, so 10,000s, is riboot. Riboot. Or the aleph could be quiescent and missing, and it would be ribot. Okay, great. Well, yeah, for 10,000, yes. So aleph is masculine singular. Okay, me'ah is feminine singular. That's why the plural form of 1,000 is im, right? Because me'ah is feminine singular. When it's 100, the plural form is ot. It's feminine plural. All right. Now, let's just take a look at these examples real quickly here. So I have chamesh me'ot. What does chamesh mean? 5. Me'ah becomes me'ot here. This means hundreds. Okay? So what is this telling me? I have 5 sets of 100. Okay? 5 sets of 100. Now, what gender is the word 100? It's feminine. See the ot ending. So which form of 5 do I have to use if I have 5 of those? I have to use the masculine singular form. See how that works? 5 sets of female hundreds. Okay? On the other hand, alafim is thousands, right? And chameshet is also 5, but this is masculine plural. So which form of 5 do I have to use? Got to use the feminine singular form. In this example, I'm using the construct. Okay? Chameshet. Alafim. So this is 5,000. This one is 500. You guys all see that? That's a good question. You know, let's get to that later. Down on the next page, let's take a look at a couple of the other examples here. So next we have Matayim u Shilosha Asar. Matayim u Shilosha Asar. What are we looking at here? Well, this is the noun me'ah, which is the number for 100, but notice I have the ayim ending, matayim. Me'ah becomes ma'at, and then I add the ayim, matayim. So this is a set of two 100 units, that is to say 200. And then I have u shilosha, which is the number 3. That u is of course plus, so 203. And then I have asar, which is a form of 10. And so what I end up being left with is 200 and 310, which is 13. So this is the number 213. The next one is Chamesh Me'ot U Shilosha. Chamesh Me'ot U Shilosha. So Chamesh, what do I have here? Well, this is the unit 5, Chamesh. Me'ot, that is 100, Me'ah, but in the plural. So it's 5 sets of 100. So 5 sets of 100, or 5 100 units worth of stuff. And notice that me'ot is feminine plural. It's feminine, and I have 5 of them. 5 is between 3 and 10, so 5 follows the gender disagreement rule. So I'm using the masculine singular form of 5 here. So 5 sets of 100, 5 100 sets. And then I have u shilosha, which is the number 3. So what is this? This is clearly 500 plus 3. So 503 is my number. The next example we have is Aleph. Shalosh me'ot u shilosha. Aleph is 1,000. And then I have Shalosh, which is 3. Notice that I have the reduced vowel form from shalosh to shilosh. So this is a construct form. It's 3 of me'ot. Again, the feminine plural form of me'ah. So 3 of 100s. So that is going to equal 300, of course. 1,000, 300. U shilosha, 3. So this becomes 1,303. On the next one, I have Chameshet, which is a form of 5, a unit number for 5. Alafim is the number 1,000 in the masculine plural. So we're actually dealing with sets of 1,000. So I'm going to put an S there for thousands. How many thousands? Well, clearly 5 thousands. Notice alafim is masculine. The number 5 is between 3 and 10, so it's a gender disagreement noun. So I got to use the feminine singular form, and here it's in the construct as well. Chamisha becomes chameshet in the feminine singular construct. So 5 sets of 1,000. Umatayim, there's my ayim ending, which is dual. So this is 100 as a set of 2, so that's 200. Vushisha, that is the number 6. So this is 206. This is 5,000. So we've got 5,206 for our number here. The next one is Ma'at Aleph. Ma'at Aleph. The number Ma'at is 100. This is feminine singular construct here. And Aleph is the number 1,000. So what am I dealing with here? I'm dealing with 100 sets of 1,000. What is 100 sets of 1,000? It's 100,000. And then finally, I have shalosh me'ot v'chameshet elef. Now on this last one, we have several numbers that are part of this figure. First, we have shalosh. Shalosh is the number 3. Me'ot is the number 100 in the plural. So I'm going to put an S here just to indicate that this is a plural form of 100. Hundreds. So 3 hundreds, 3 sets of 100, which is 300. V'chameshet. I accidentally put a vocal shava here, but I need a pathak because I can't have a vocal shava next to a compound shava. So anyhow, it's v'chameshet. This is the number 5. So I have 3 sets of 105, which is 305. And this is 305 of what? It's 305 sets of 1,000. 305 sets of 1,000. Now, let's look at the number 305 here for a minute. 5 is my units place, 305 of something, and 5 is a gender disagreement number. Remember, 1 through 2 is we have gender agreement, 3 through 10, gender disagreement, this is disagreement. So elef is masculine singular, and so the form of 5 in 305 has to be feminine singular, chameshet. There's the ta for the feminine singular. So altogether, this is 305 sets of 1,000, or 305,000. Now, the last thing we want to deal with in this lesson are the ordinal numbers. And unfortunately, Ross puts the ordinal numbers right smack in the middle of his discussion of the cardinal numbers. I would have saved them for the end, and so I do for my handout. Okay? But if you want to know where these are in Ross, the ordinal numbers in Ross are in Ross 25.2. Okay? Now, the ordinal numbers are adjectives. Okay? These are attributive adjectives. And that means they are going to follow all the rules of attributive adjectives. They have to match the gender, number, and definiteness of the noun that they're modifying, and they have to go after the noun that they modify. Let's take a look at the forms of the ordinal numbers. Remember, ordinals are giving us the position of or the order within the series. So the word for first is rishon, rishon, masculine, and we also have feminine forms. Remember, attributive adjectives have to be able to inflect for both genders. So I have rishon and rishonah. Rishon, the first masculine thing. Rishonah, first feminine. This word for second is sheni, feminine singular, shenit. I wonder if you're going to notice a pattern here. Third, shlishi, masculine, shlishit, feminine, third. Revi'i, fourth, revi'it, fourth, feminine. The cardinal number is arba, by the way. So you'll notice that part of arba is here on the ordinal number. The aleph is missing, okay? But we have the resh, bet, and ayin. So revi'i, fourth. Fifth, the cardinal's chamesh. This is chamishi for masculine, chamishit for feminine singular. For sixth, shishi and shishit, masculine, feminine. 7, shavi'i, the seventh. Shavi'it, seventh, feminine. Shimone is the number 8 cardinal, and the ordinal is shemini for masculine singular, sheminit, feminine singular. Tesha is 9 cardinal, ordinal. Tushi'i, masculine, and tushi'it is the feminine form. So what do you notice about these ordinal numbers? almost all of them have right smack in the middle of them a Keurig yod between the second and third root letter. Okay? And also for the feminine form, it's almost always a final tav, which we've talked about before, is the second most frequent marker of feminine singular gender. Now, if I want to then use these in an actual phrase, this is what it would look like. Oh, the number 10. Sorry about that. Forgot that. Asiri for 10th, masculine, and asirit, 10th. This is also the term that's used for like a tithe of something, which is a 10th part. All right, so a couple of examples here. Notice in this expression, I have ha'ish ha'rishon. Ha'ish ha'rishon. What do I have here? Well, what I have is I have a masculine singular noun, the man, and it's definite. I have ha'rishon. This is the masculine singular form of the adjective, and it has to be definite as well. The man, the first, is the first man. Okay, so that's my ordinal. Got to agree in gender, number, and definiteness. That is characteristic of attributive adjectives. My ordinal will follow those rules. In this next one, I have hayom hashalishi. Hayom hashalishi. Yom is masculine singular. Hayom, definite. Hashalishi. That is the masculine singular ordinal adjective for third. And the ha makes it definite as well. The day, the third. This is equal to the third day. All right? The attributive adjective always has to go after the noun. And notice, by the way, that the matter of gender mismatch is only a feature of cardinal numbers. Ordinal numbers behave normally. There is no gender confusion with ordinal numbers. They always agree with their noun and gender, number, and definiteness. Hashana is feminine singular, definite. The year. Hashavi'it. Look at the form of shavi'i. It's got the final tav. That is feminine singular as well, and definite. So it's the year, the seventh. What does that equal? The seventh ordinal year. Okay? So that's how the ordinal numbers are used. It's not very difficult at all. And again, if you can remember the cardinal numbers 1 through 10, you should still be able to identify the ordinal numbers because they're using almost all the consonants. Even if the vowel pointing is slightly different, almost all the consonants are the same, except for the word for first. But you've already learned rishon as a way to say first. And it's related to the word rosh, which is head. So hopefully that'll help you.